So that's level one. That's the worldview that we're given. That's the worldview for the uninitiated, the goyim, and so forth. And that's how so much of this control by oligarchical powers works. Is the control of the information that we get, and allowing everything else to be obfuscated or run down the memory hole. Let's look at number two, behind the veneer of democracy. So this is like the second level of the game. And I think this is where, when we use this waking up, that's what people are starting to kind of get hip to. It's like, wait a minute, what's this role of the Federal Reserve? And they're printing money out of thin air. And so you're kind of getting clues once you go into that direction. And then once you look at the actual scholarly literature on the deep state. So our security apparatus is actually controlled by Wall Street first, and then the other node of power, politics second. So you begin to, if you desire truth, you begin to step in that direction, and you kind of see that maybe just because something was on the news or on the television, it might not be true. You might kind of start thinking that, what, politicians lie. I know that. So why do I keep thinking now they're telling the truth? You start asking questions, and you're kind of deciding to actually do your own research, and you're breaking from the program. You're breaking from the program. You're asking questions. And so level two, you're getting into that. What I'm going to say, there's two methods of finding out truth in the social sciences. And one is inductive. You're going to look at information on the ground, collective, and you're going to make an assessment. So the idea that I'm giving you now, I arrived at through an inductive investigation. But I'm going to lay it on to you as just my premises, and you can explore it deductively. Start with the conclusion I'm going to give you right here, and you look and investigate in the world and see over months and years if this cannot be verifiable at through deduction. Okay. So what I'm going to argue is when you start peeling back that onion, you go from the Federal Reserve, and then you start thinking, well, this is actually the structure of an oligarchy, and well, they have a certain belief system, and they have certain objectives, and you're going down that path. Here's what I'm going to submit to you that's going on in the world. There is one monetary system. There is one corporate system. Each of what we call a nation state is in fact a legal corporation and always has been, and they are subjected to the monetary system. There is one intelligence system. Okay, MI6, Mossad, CIA, it's one agency. And I got into this years ago through my dissertation that was looking from the OSS and the development of American intelligence and looking at archival material. I ran into it that way years ago, that this is actually one intelligence service. There's one space agency, not going to go there. And there's one secret society, and I'm not really going to go there. But when you start breaking them apart, between, the Golden Dawn here and the Rosicrucians here and the Illuminati over here and the Knights of Columbus over here, sometimes whole religions like Mormonism or I think Judaism and many of the Christian denominations are secret societies in and of themselves. Does that mean every person that's a member is down with the program? No, that's not how it works. But there's one secret society. And I believe where this is going, and I'll use by analogy, just an analogy. Let's just say that the head of the snake was crushed. as the first prophecy of the Bible indicates, that the heel will crush the head of the snake, that it's disparate and it goes around in many forms, but its project is to come out at one point that there is truly a global space agency. There is one. It won't need to be a secret society anymore. The ruling elite will externalize the hierarchy and everything will be exposed. But there's going to be one system of governance and one visible ruling elite and so forth. So that snake is trying to bring itself together, and that's one piece of the singularity, is bringing the head of the snake back together, so it doesn't have to have these seemingly disparate pieces running around and seemingly at odds with one another. But what I'm going to say, I think, and this just, my research, in my opinion, we all got one. This is, I wouldn't just be on here if I didn't think I had any value added or something to say. And so this part's going to be more difficult for many people to deal with. But what I find, and this is some of the best researchers on the second level of that chessboard, are still going to be caught with some of the assumptions left over from us from this matrix system. And one of them is materialism and naturalism. So, what I have done here is looked at this oligarchy and saying that they do have a uniting esoteric philosophy, religion, and that part of that has an eschatology. They have an end game, and part of their eschatology is not to wait around. It's through humans. Man with a capital N is going to create this destiny and this final singularity, and there is a plan for salvation or an end time plan in there, but it's a manufactured one. And I think once you start looking for that, you're going to increasingly see it. So there's an end game. But what I think so many people get caught up in the second, when they look at the elites and they can go deep down the rabbit hole at all the, they can start to connect that there's one security agency, that, most of these entertainers and actors somewhere belong to some, there's more often than not part of some different strains of this oligarchical family. Um, but their final conclusion, why are they doing this? Why are they creating the New World Order? Well, in their minds, if you can only think that the end game is it's all about the money and it's all about control. And they say brilliant things like just follow the money. Um, and I just want the ability to put on the table um, an esoteric and biblical worldview, because that's outside the parameters of the classroom. And I want to introduce that and allow you to look at it either inductively or deductively and see if that squares with the phenomena on the ground. And so I'm going to say that the monetary system and the corporate system and the capturing of all political players and pieces around the world today are part of another project. Control is a means to an eschatological end. And so I've been playing with that, but I want to be a little bit more clear now when I dig into the esoteric belief system and where they're taking the world. So I'm going to call that level 3 of the board.